Friend.
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome to the Lost Rewatch. It continues. We have two, I would say, great episodes, Catch 22 and D.O.C. I'm joined by Janice and Eric. How's it going, guys?
How's it going?
Hey, guys. Hi.
Now, Janice, this is your first time here in the Lost Rewatch, so we ask every first-timer, how did you get into Lost?
Okay, I started watching about halfway through season 4. A friend of ours had season 1 and let us borrow them. We binged that. Season 2, we actually rented the disc from Blockbuster. One disc at a time. So it was like 4 episodes at a time. Then you take it back and get another one. Yep. And then season 3 was, we actually rented them from Netflix. And again, it was 1 disc at a time. And then in the meantime, season 4 started, so we were DVRing the episodes. So then at that point, we were caught up and live.
Now, were you spoiled at any time during any of the big reveals?
No. I didn't really know what fandom was at that point. I've actually never heard an episode of Jay and Jack on Lost. I didn't know what a podcast was at that point.
Really? And we still have you here as a guest? I don't know.
Yes. I actually found Jay and Jack through Colleen. She was
really?
On the tribe.
Right.
And I discovered she was married to Jay, and I'd heard of Jay and Jack. So then I started listening to Jay and Jack.
So we have Colleen to thank.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be hard because you were saying how Blockbuster, that's how I caught up with BSG, because I didn't watch BSG when it first came out, and I was borrowing DVDs, and then I was buying them. I was doing everything I could to catch up so I wouldn't get, spoiled. So it's tough when you're trying to catch, especially you missed the first 3 seasons. There's some pretty big reveals in those seasons, and not to get spoiled.
Oh, for sure.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I wasn't really on the internet much back at that point. And
that's
also,
good.
My birthday's on September 22nd, so there's always been a connection there.
Nice.
Because that's the day the plane crashed. So.
Nice. Well, are you guys ready to talk about these 2 episodes?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And again, you can take it any way you want to go with it. We can do a recap. We can just talk about the best parts of the episode, but we'll start with Catch 22. What were your guys' thoughts on? I say this every time, but I forget what happens in these episodes.
I forgot how good it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, James.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. When you told me I was going to be on, I had went back and looked at the basically the description of the episode, and I love this episode. I love Desmond. I love Hurley. Charlie and Jin starting out the episode like that. It was like, okay, yeah, I'm into this now for sure.
What a cool way to start with the discussion of superheroes. Really,
yeah, exactly. Yes,
everybody's gonna have an opinion on that.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone always gets
Superman.
you always got to work it to your angle too, what they were doing, because no one beats Superman, but Hurley had his rules, and
yeah. So that was great, and I love actually the very first shot of the episode is the hatchet is Desmond like hacking away at the underbrush, and he comes through. And I'm like, man, this is going to be a real actiony type episode. It's all about action and inaction, and what should Desmond do? Mm-hmm. What I like about this is they've been at this point. It's been the whole season, Jack. And I know you're reading through, but like all this Charlie will die, these flashes, it's been well established now at this point. But this episode kind of turns it on its head, because when Desmond gets a flash, he wants it to happen. Right. And I thought that was just totally like, I don't think I appreciated when it aired how unique that is in terms of stories. Like, well, now I have to recreate what I've seen versus having to avoid what I've seen. So I just thought that was a really interesting take on it.
Right, because if he doesn't do it correctly, he may not see Penny again.
Yeah.
Charlie Penny.
How are you going to? I mean, he chooses right.
He he finally chooses to save Charlie. He was going to sacrifice him, but then at the last minute he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But to be fair to Desmond, he's already been told by Mrs. Hawkins that Charlie is going to die no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't say he's not going to be able to save him for the rest of his life, right? Forever.
Mm-hmm.
So if he happened to die, I mean, that was a gross way to die, though. It was a painful way to die.
Well, and it's for a fake out beginning of the episode is pretty crazy. Like, wouldn't have been amazing if that was where Charlie died? I mean, pre greatest hits, they did the Charlie send off real well. But
Right,
if he had just died like that at the beginning of an episode, and then right after the commercial break, it was not revealed that he is in fact completely fine, and they haven't embarked yet. Like, man, that just would have been such a bold move.
That and there have been a lot of upset people, though.
Yeah. Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had forgotten about that scene. It was like going, I know this is a dream or this is something going on. And then that's right. It's Desmond's flashes, his flashes. I know this. Obviously, I know Charlie doesn't die through an arrow through the neck.
Right. Right. I think it's unique to see Desmond getting the flash. We see him like crouching on the rock, and we kind of get a sense of what that looks like for him, which I also thought was cool. But I also like the flashback in this episode. I mean, really, the Desmond in the monastery, I find it maybe stretches the imagination a little bit to know that he also had this other girlfriend that he left at the altar, that he was, and he kind of repeated behavior where he kind of chickens out in a relationship. That's a little bit of a stretch, but I think everything else, writing wise, very captivating. Pretty interesting. And we learned, I don't know that we needed the backstory of why Desmond says brother, but here it is. He was a monk. Everybody just said brother there. He spent some time in a monastery.
I thought it was a Scottish thing.
Yeah, that's always thought too. But I do like the twist at the end where we find out it's before he meets Penny.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching the first time and going, when has this guy had time to 6 years he dated her? I'm like, he was in the army. He's all this different stuff. I go, and then you go, oh, I never saw. I remember when it happened. Never saw that coming.
Yeah.
I said, oh, nice twist.
It's a fun play with time. So the first time he's with a girl and is engaged to be married, Ruth, he joins the monastery, and she tells him, don't ever join the monastery if you can't do it. And so the next time he runs off from Penny, he joins the army. I think is the chronology.
Well, he's always running.
He's always
running away.
He's cowardly kind of guy.
I couldn't remember how that went. The storyline there of what was when. Right.
It was like I said, obviously I knew going into today that was before, but again at the time it was like, oh my God, this is when I think the episodes really started taking off. They started coming back to having to being top notch, back to back, especially the end of the final few episodes of season 3 really were on fire. And then you have the Kate, sees is this episode or the next one that Kate sees sees Kate and Juliet. She sees Jack and Juliet together.
Yes, and then she immediately goes and jumps on Sawyer because of that, which is interesting.
I like the only thing I like about that. I like that Sawyer finds out, and he's just like, "Don't use me, just ask."
Right.
It's, that was a really good arc for him. It's a good moment between the two of them, and also in this episode, I really buy Jack and Juliet at least for a little bit, and then Kate and Sawyer I buy for a little bit, and knowing that. Juliet and Sawyer's lingering a couple seasons in the future. I'm like, how is that going to happen? Because at this moment in time, you really see how the characters that paired in this episode kind of complement each other.
Yeah,
I think Jack is still relying on Juliet for a little bit more of that stability, and Sawyer's relying on Kate for the unpredictability. And I don't know. I ship the characters in this episode. I think it's really great.
We also have Sawyer slowly starting to change.
Yeah.
The episode, I think it was the episode before where Hurley, they need him to be the leader, because Locke is gone, Jack is gone, Saeed is gone. And he says, yeah, if you don't change your ways, they're going to banish you. And he goes, banish me to where? but you can see that he's really tried to change. I mean, he challenges Jack to ping pong and all that other stuff, and of course that's how he finds out that Kate was, using him in a way.
Yeah,
and he didn't react. He didn't react in a way that Sawyer normally would react.
That's that. I would agree with that. Yeah, it's really deft how they develop Sawyer throughout the next couple episodes, because he's not the focus at all of this or the next episode. There's tons of stuff they got to do with Naomi and Mikhail and all this stuff. But the next two episodes, I mean, it's Locke with the brig, and then the man from Tallahassee is next. And, Sawyer's going to have his huge character moment of finally confronting Mr. Sawyer. Unbelievable, like that's coming. So they managed to just really, even in a couple scenes, they really carry that storyline along. Just really deft writing. And I know Brian K. Vaughan is the executive story producer at this point during the season, and I think it's a good call. This was the first episode that Brian K. Vaughan co-wrote.
Oh, really?
It was really cool. Yeah, he goes on to do a couple more in seasons 4 and 5.
Well, he did a great job, because it's a good episode. I do like that they go to find the cable, because they're eventually going to go to the looking glass, and it just wasn't out of the blue. They came back to the cable. It wasn't. I hate when shows do that. All of a sudden, you don't talk about it for two seasons. All of a sudden, oh, we're going to go. At least they went and looked at it and pulled on it. At least we know that. Down the road, they're going to talk about it again.
Yeah, so it's still there.
Yeah, it hasn't moved. I do like that. Yeah. And I also want to talk about Jin's ghost story. I thought that was pretty good.
Jin was hilarious. That was just hilarious.
That's a great moment. Desmond is all freaking out. How are we going to convince Jin to come along with us? We don't even speak his language. And Hurley's like, camping, marshmallows. And Jin's like, great.
Yeah, and they tell, and of course he scares Hurley with the story. I remember that at the time it was just a funny. There was a lot of funny scenes in this one. Is when they don't find Naomi to the next episode, right?
They pull her helmet off at the end of this one.
Right.
Yes, that was the cliffhanger.
Now,
what about Hurley's hair? Can we talk about Hurley's new hairstyle? Is that the first time we've seen his hair like that?
Let's talk about it. Who cut it?
The way it's all pulled back in like a bandana or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Thought that was interesting.
Maybe it was hot and humid.
Maybe, yes, probably.
I wonder if they do that if they did that for consistency reasons, because maybe like Jorge had it cut or something, and they needed to just kind of, in a pinch, do it that way.
Maybe.
I didn't even notice it.
Just something I noticed
for the rain.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
And I usually notice hair because I don't have any, so I usually pay attention to other people's hair.
Project others. It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, this whole episode, really, the theme, there's some overt dialogue. The brother guy, the other monk guy, says to Desmond, maybe you don't appreciate the value of sacrifice. And it's very clear that it's very overt about, this is the episode he should have sacrificed Charlie, or if he had sacrificed Charlie, it would be Penny. And it's pretty heavy-handed, but it's also, I think it works. This show can be a little bit on the nose because you're dealing with an island that truly manifests miracles. So you're like, yeah, like if Desmond had let Charlie die, that would have been Penny.
Yeah.
You just believe it, and at this point in the show, because not knowing who the freighter folk are and not knowing about Naomi at all, you really do believe that it could have been her, which I think is a good, sleight of hand or good misdirect, I think, on the part of the writers.
So good move by Desmond or not? Do we?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We're happy to save Charlie for at least a few more episodes.
Yeah. And this is the episode where
no one was coming anyways, but
yeah, this is the episode where he tells Charlie about Penny, and then so it starts the relationship between Desmond, Penny, and Charlie, which leads to the whole not Penny's boat. So watching these scenes with Des, after Desmond finally comes clean, although Charlie, again, he's snappy, he doesn't miss a thing. He knows that Desmond is messing with him. Yeah, the heart to heart that they have where he like talks about her and I should have let you die. I think he really feels that. And I think it's obviously the prep for greatest hits, or for the end.
Now, also, if Charlie would have died that way in front of Jin, especially Hurley, because Hurley and him were very tight on the island, that would, I think, be something hard for Hurley to live with. I mean, to see his friend die that way. Obviously, when Charlie dies, the only one that knows actually sees any of it is Desmond. I don't even know does he actually see him die? No, he just.
I think just the hand through the thing, and then
not
he gets
Penny's boat. Yeah. So I think that again, that's another. I'm glad they didn't kill Charlie off that way in front of his friends.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hurley carries some guilt for Charlie's death as it stands anyway. I think that's what I'm thinking of remembering the ghost of Charlie haunting Hurley in future episodes, which is awesome.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
But I think he definitely would have carried guilt because he helped Desmond to recruit everybody. He helped Desmond to plan this trip, which resulted in Charlie's death. Absolutely. Hurley would have 100% blamed mostly himself. And then also Desmond. It would have ruined a lot of friendships.
That's a great point. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that Hurley did help Desmond, and it's like I said, just great episode. I love the different, everything else that's going on with it. The ping pong table that does bug me though, because one side has a big hole in it, right?
It's not to regulation. It's not a standard ping pong table.
So if you have that side, what happens if the ball goes? Because it's a good 6-7 inches. So if the ball goes in there, did we get a ruling on the rules on that one?
Well, I mean, isn't Jack winning by like 18-0?
A mulligan? I'm not sure.
Maybe I'm just looking for something. I always hear when I see that, I go, well, you got that huge hole there. I mean, we couldn't get something to tape it up and patch off.
Yeah, you can build a raft to get off the island, but ping pong table's got to stay how it is.
It's like Gilligan's Island all over again. I don't know.
And I'm sure that there's a few references to. I mean, I always thought it was the Bridge over River Kwai, but the subtitles call it the Colonel Bogey March.
That's from the Bridge of the River Kwai.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, the when they're walking along the beach, I thought that was just a great moment. Obviously, the camaraderie between these characters.
Even Jin was whistling.
Even Jin was whistling. Yep.
So they were all good. They were all having fun.
Yeah.
But after the ghost story, they hear the helicopter. And they're going back and forth. Someone thought it was a food drop, and they said no. Was there a beacon? Is that what they said?
Yeah, they saw the beacon. The thing that I want answered that I didn't remember being answered or not is they said, well, maybe someone ejected, but you can't eject out of a helicopter. Right. So was it a helicopter that you could eject out of, or did they ever answer this? Because now I'm kind of really curious how Naomi got away.
That was something that was brought up at the time. People were like going, how does that? And I can't remember the answer to that.
Yeah. Do we know where the helicopter came from?
Would have been the freighter.
Freighter, right.
Okay.
So the freighter.
Couldn't remember if it was the freighter.
And I guess it just encountered that. I mean, if you want to get into season 4, it probably encountered like that wall or the barrier of like night and day or whatever it is.
Right. And then crashed into it. So there was 2 helicopters on the freighter?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's enough helicopters to keep the story going, I guess. But that's true. You can't eject from a helicopter because of the propellers.
Yeah.
You can jump out of a helicopter.
Yeah. And she definitely
jumped. Yeah.
She definitely has a parachute. I think, doesn't James Bond eject from a helicopter in GoldenEye? But the blades have to come out first before you can. He like shoots out with. Anyway, hung up on.
Well, that's James Bond, though.
That's right? James Bond. I know.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know Naomi. We don't know her life. We don't know where she's been.
Yeah. She could be the female James Bond. We don't know, right?
I was say I was watching it. I had the subtitles on, and when she finally starts talking, whether it's Spanish or Italian, I'm not sure. You know, she it says it calls her parachute girl. That's all it says.
Oh,
Because you don't know her name yet.
It has to be deliberately vague.
yeah. Wow, that's quite the title, Parachute Girl. I was on Lost as Parachute Girl. But then we have Mikhail shows up. The guy he just won't die. Right?
Well, when they do it this time, I think it's cute. But when they do it with the harpoon in Greatest Hits, I do not think it's cute. I'm not okay with that. Like, how many times is this guy gonna die? Right? The fence was a gag. Okay, great, fine. You know, fool me once, right? But Mikhail not dying, I think, and was he grab a grenade or something at the end? He's underwater with like the explosion.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Come on, that's too much. It's like I enjoy the actor, I enjoy the character a whole heck of a lot.
But it was a little over the top, is what you're saying?
In the future, yeah. At this time, I'm like, okay, that's pretty interesting. It's interesting to have another angle here, because I read on Lostpedia one of these episodes to this one or the next one, but Naomi says something in Portuguese, and Mikhail translates either it's thank you or she says she's dying, but what she really says in Portuguese is I'm not alone. And so Mikhail, there's totally stuff going on there where he's interpreting.
Oh,
yeah,
where he's lying.
He lies to the guy. So he's still, and I think it's in the next episode where he seals the phone or whatever too. And he's like, well, you wouldn't, trust me as much if I didn't try. You knew I had to try and steal the phone. And there's still a lot of subterfuge. There's still a lot of lying going on. And I think that's like peak Lost, is you still have to like give a little, get a little. And it's still about these people on this island that have to trust each other to survive or not. Right. So
and they don't trust each other.
No, it's a fragile, relation at the very least.
I do like that. Like what we talked about it already at the inn, where Desmond, he's helping he's a fired monk now.
I didn't know they could fire a monk, as he says to him.
Yeah. And they're like, at first, I remember when I was first watching it, we talked about her, like, why is she acting like she doesn't know him? And then you go, this is great. Like you said, great twist. And of course, there's an instant connection there. Mm-hmm. And she wants to take old Des for a ride on her, to help her unload the wine at the next stop. So
it's a lot of wine.
The best relationship. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, agreed. And that first meeting is set up for success. The failure or the being a fired monk. It's a perfect in to her car and her heart, apparently.
But I think they've been voted the best couple in Lost. Any poll you look at, it's not even close.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, because they're part of one of the best episodes in the history of Lost, so I think that helps. But it's one of those stories where you just want them to get together, and it's almost like Sun and Jin's story, where they have the powerful dad, and the dad doesn't really respect Jin. I don't think he's just using him, and I guess he does kind of want to make his daughter happy, but and the Penny Desmond story, the dad Widmore does not like or respect Desmond at all.
He's gonna use him, and both Charles Widmore and Desmond, well, they both have this relationship with Mrs. Hawking.
Yes.
And so does the head monk here. There's that photo. It's one of the worst photoshopped photos of all time. I don't know how that passed the art department's seal of approval, but the photo of the head monk with Mrs. Hawking in his office on his desk. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, this guy is like, when he found Desmond in the gutter or wherever, and took him to the monastery, it was basically to introduce him to Penny years, or however much time passed later.
It's funny you mentioned that picture on the desk of Mrs. Hawkins and the monk. That was probably the biggest reaction we got for phone calls and emails in the history of our podcast. I mean, literally hundreds and hundreds. Did you see Mrs. Hawkins on the desk? And like, yes. and phone call after phone call after phone call. I mean, it was just because you could, when you could see them come on your Gmails, like they come in blocks of 60 and go 60. I'm like going, oh my God, that was a phone call. And email, every email was like, yes, we saw it. Then the first thing we said in the podcast, yes, we saw it. And people were still, because we were doing 2 podcasts a week at the time. It was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of the same thing. Did you see Mrs. Hawkins on the desk? So I always have a fond memory of that, just because it's like, oh my God. And I was answering the emails. Yes, I did. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Thanks for emailing.
Yes.
Yes.
But yeah, what does it mean, right? Like all these Desmond episodes are linked. And I know the whole point of Lost is all these characters are linked and all this stuff. But with Desmond in particular, before we get proper flash forwards, which are coming, we have all of this future stuff. They really had a meal with this whole what's going on with Desmond subplot thing. The whole season,
Right.
They feasted off of this. And I think it's great. I think it's really, really cool. Before introducing literal time travel, you have somebody like Mrs. Hawking setting up the rules and our characters either believing them or not. It's basically like the button all over again, right? It's like you push the button or the world will explode. Well, Desmond, you can't change the future. What's he going to do about it? And it's interesting to put Lost time and time again has put their characters in these like struggles against like existential dilemmas.
Right. Like what was supposed to happen was going to happen anyway. He was always going to meet Penny. So
yeah,
at least in the Lost world.
Yeah.
And then we have at the end where they take her helmet off and it's not Penny. And then Desmond says, I should have let you die, Charlie. No.
Yeah. But
I remember being disappointed.
She knows Desmond. She knows Penny, obviously. So,
right.
He's at least going to figure out something.
Right.
Yeah, that was a good build-up for her to call his name as the end, and for her the photo that they find.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's
the famous photo. Yes.
The famous. I remember being very disappointed, but I thought, oh, okay, it's close. At least we didn't get like another nobody like Henry Gale from Minnesota's falling down the tree canopy. And it's like, who is this person? Who cares?
Right.
They still promised some kind of connection to Desmond. So
you're saying there's a chance Ben could have been Parachute Girl.
Ben could have been Parachute Girl. Yeah. Maybe we got to go back in the footage and see what the subtitles call him.
Yes, for sure. Yes.
So anyway, Go ahead.
I was just going to say, or hot air balloon boy, I guess. Yes.
Oh yeah.
yeah. Like the kid they had, right? The fake Hulk
yes.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Balloon boy, whatever. What did they call him?
Balloon boy. Yeah, where the father recorded him. Yeah, flying away and
oh my God.
Millions of dollars trying to save him, but he was in his room.
Oh man.
Yes.
Anyway, but what do you guys think after watching it, talking about it? What would you guys think about the episode?
I loved it. It's good to see Hurley and Charlie together, knowing what's going to come and how both of them, they're happy. They seem to be somewhat happy, having a good time a little bit. And then knowing that, Hurley's going to be so sad and Charlie's going to be gone. So it's good to see them together like this. Because I think it's the last time they hang out together, right?
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah.
Before. So.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think this episode has it all. You got your religious talk, God testing Abraham. You got your future flashy, freaky-deaky sci-fi stuff. You got your romance with Kate and Sawyer and Juliet and Jack. and for a random bone toss to comic book fans as well with the superhero discussion.
Yes.
So it's really got everything. There's 108 casks of wine. You got your lost numbers through line there. You got really just.
I didn't get that. Yeah.
They managed to do so much in an episode while still setting up basically the whole finale.
Yeah, continue the story. Yeah, it was a I really loved the episode. I thought it was fantastic, and I the whole time I can remember back at the time thinking, I hope they don't kill Charlie. I knew he was going to be killed off. I mean, I knew it, but I was kept saying maybe that's just a misdirection. Maybe they're just messing with us. Maybe Charlie. But a lot of people think that Charlie was at the end. That Charlie should have. His character couldn't go any further. I'm like going, well, I thought there was other things they could have done with him, but they said he's a recovering drug addict. He's licked that. He's got everything. I mean, I guess you're never fully recovered, but I was hoping that somehow they would keep him around.
Yeah,
but they didn't.
No, they didn't. They managed, I think, to get a whole season's worth of character development out of him, even after slating him for death. And to deciding to kill him, but deciding to tell him that they were going to kill him. Amazing, right? What a choice! Because you get a lot of these behaviors and these conversations that I think are pretty cool. He basically, I think, already is starting to resign himself to his fate.
Right.
But all he's asking for is a friend, I think, in these times. He just doesn't want Desmond to BS him.
Right. Which is a good point. With Desmond, I think we all would like to have that ability to see the future and stuff like that, but not that kind. Not where you're seeing someone die over and over and over again. That would drain on me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd much rather see lottery numbers.
Yeah, exactly. The good part is saying the future, not the bad part.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to move on to D.O.C.
Oh, hey, real quick, just before we do, I do want to share the quick story.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So this episode I mentioned was written by Brian K. Vaughan, co-written. It's him and I think Drew Goddard. Double check that. But the day this aired, so it was I think it was a Sunday. Was Lost ever on Sundays?
It might have been.
I thought it was.
I thought either Wednesday or Thursday, right?
Thursday. It might have been Thursdays. Okay. So it was on a weekend. And I was living in Wellington, New Zealand at the time, and pirating the latest episodes because they weren't airing until 2 or 3 weeks later on Sky TV or whatever in New Zealand. So I was caught at that point. I was obsessed mid-season 3 of Lost, and I was pirating the episodes as they aired. And that weekend, I worked for Borders Bookstore, and they had a convention in town called Armageddon Expo, and Borders was decided to sell some books in the convention. So part of work was to go over to this convention. We set up a cash register and just sold some books at the con. Well, who should be at the con but Brian K. Vaughan, who had just written that weekend's Lost. And
it's this is like an episode of Lost. The story.
So it was a chance, and just by happenstance, he happens, and I don't know him because he had written a couple of Why the Last Man. He had been working on Saga, Saga came later, but just great guy, very well known in the comics world, is there as a guest. And I don't know how I don't remember how exactly I figured out that it was him or that he had just written the episode. But I walked up to him on my lunch break and I was like, "Hey man, I've seen Catch-22. It was awesome." And he's like, "Oh man, I still haven't seen the finished product myself because I was on a plane to come here." And I was like, "Well, it's a great episode. And will you sign something for me?" And so he did. So I'm going to share a screen real quick. This is the only time I met. Let's see. Let's see if this works. Let me know. Do you see my screen?
Not yet.
Yes, I see.
Okay.
Yeah, at the bottom.
So I had him sign to Eric in Another Life, brother. Yeah, which is the Desmond.
Nice.
Desmond line. I was like, you just wrote this Desmond episode, and I have this very old grainy photo.
You were such a baby. You were a baby.
Very baby. So I was really happy with that. It just chance encounter with him, but but yeah, that was super. It was that weekend that this aired, so I was like,
that is so funny. I mean, it's seriously, that's like an episode of Lost where it just coincidence.
it was
Gail
total.
Gail in the chat says cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are the odds?
Yeah,
I don't know. But I like Desmond was my favorite character at the time, so I was able to tell him. I'm like, oh my god, this monastery stuff is awesome. It adds so much to the character, and I'm sure I just talked his ear off.
I wonder if, because he said he hadn't seen it yet. I wonder if they like the finished product, or sometimes they go, they cut out my best lines, or
I wonder, because I think they probably. One of the DVD special features has the timeline of a Lost episode where it's like they're on the helicopter carrying the film from Hawaii to Los Angeles.
Right.
Then Michael Giacchino's in Los Angeles with the orchestra waiting for the tapes so he can do the scoring, and it's all very last minute. So I'm sure he saw, probably a close to finished product, but you kind of never know. You just kind of write the episode and hope for the best.
One season, I can't remember what season it was. It might have been season 4. We got some somebody sent us early the unfinished product, like 3 episodes of the unfinished product, but we didn't watch it. We watched it a day ahead of time. We didn't watch them all 3 at once, and it didn't have the background. It would sometimes be a green screen, or it would be
really.
It didn't have the right voice. It was like another voice. If they were on the phone, it was talking to them. I can't remember how we got those because it was nothing that I was involved with. It was probably Jay.
There was a leak.
If it's illegal, then it was all Jay, because I didn't do it.
Yeah.
It was weird watching because you're watching going, and it kind of. I don't want to say ruined it because you're watching. It was cool to get it because you got, I'd be a day ahead of time, but it was just kind of odd when you're sitting there going, okay, that's just a green screen and stuff like that. But yeah, that was the coolest thing we ever got, I think.
Peek behind the curtain.
Right. Then then somehow they would finish the product, and they finish how you're saying they go to LA, and sometimes the music wouldn't even be in there.
Right.
You're like going, all right, this is kind of because, especially with Giacchino, the music. It's so special. I mean, it without the music, does the show work? I mean, I guess it does, but
that's honestly a good point. I mean, not just the music, but the Foley too.
Right.
Everything in the finished product makes the show what it is.
Right. So
yes.
Anyway, that was our illegal, whatever you want to call it. On to D.O.C. Jack talks to Sun about Sun's pregnancy.
Yes, and how she thought that Jack was lying to her.
Right.
He was now another and was trying to want to steal her baby. I thought, no, why would you? That was a little far-fetched to me.
Yeah.
To think that.
I never understood that at the time. I said, Jack could be a lot of things, but Jack is honorable. He's going to be, if you're his patient, he's going to do anything he can to save you. But she thinks because he spent time over in Otherton that he became an other. He's really good friends with Juliet. There seems to be a connection there. I don't know. I thought Sun was reaching, but I could, you're pregnant and you're probably worried,
Well, yeah, you want the life of your baby. I think it's Jack's, was his bedside manner suck? He's kind of aggressive. Right. He's kind of aggressive with Sun. When he comes true. And sits down, she's gardening. He's like, hey, what's up? How's your baby? Are you bleeding? Yes. Are you bleeding and not telling anybody? And she's like, what? Huh? I'd be freaked out too. He's the doctor, sure. So he can ask these questions, but I don't blame her for being off put. The other thing is I haven't watched the middle episodes between Flashes Before Your Eyes and this. So I don't know, with Jack and Otherton, did they explain he was going to get off the island, right?
Right. Until Locke blew up the sub.
Yes.
Man.
Yes.
Locke is lucky I like him. I'm tell you that. Because Damn. But so Jack
It
was
was
kind of,
Luck is a pain in the ass, but go ahead, Janice.
yeah.
No, I was just going to say, and it's really Kate's fault. I mean, because if she had not dragged John Locke to the other side of the island to save Jack and
Juliet
could have gotten off the island. So
And
really, it's kind of Kate's fault also.
But was Jack did he have honorable intentions when he was leaving? Was he gonna like send help? Did they talk about that at all?
He did say he was going to come
what
back.
He talked about. Yes, he said that
he would come back and he would come back for us. For them, not us. I wasn't there. we weren't on the island. No,
it feels like yesterday, honestly. Okay, because
you felt like you were. Yes.
So Jack's motives, like, yeah, I don't remember ever really thinking he was another. The football with Mr. Friendly thing was totally a nail in the coffin of he's another now. But they have to pull every thread they can, to kind of keep us guessing.
And you are right about how Jack did approach Sun. He doesn't have a good bedside manner. I mean, maybe if Sun had seen some of Jack's flashbacks, she would have known that he was terrible at bedside manner.
Yeah. I mean, that comes up, I think, is maybe the previous episode. Somebody says to him, or Juliet says to him, "Didn't your dad ever teach you to build nothing?" He says, "My dad taught me to drink."
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Not have a happy childhood.
Yeah.
And we get a Jin and Sun flashback, which are always the hardest when you're taking notes.
Because you got to read.
Yes, because you have to read.
Because their episodes always take me a little longer. Because I have to stop and go back. Okay, I didn't read what they said. It's like, God, if I could just speak Korean. But we find out that Sun talks with a woman and tells her that Jin is the son of his mom was a prostitute.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And was that his mother? I assume, because she's blackmailing Sun.
Well, at the end, we pretty much Sun basically says, "Yeah, I know you're Jin's mom," and she says,
"Right,
I'm not his mom. I didn't raise him."
And then she threatens to kill her.
Yeah.
Yes. My family is very powerful. We will kill you.
And if you look at her face, Sun's face, she had probably the meanest, convincing look on her face that I've ever seen Sun have. Even when she shoots Colleen on the boat, she didn't have that look.
No, she looked terrified when she did that. But
right
here, she looks absolutely certain, and it's because she has gone through so much in the course of this episode to get the money from her father. It's going to have repercussions that she can't even predict just yet, although we know as the audience that it leads them down towards a real dark path.
Right.
And she's determined to save Jin's what's the word? Honor.
Pride.
Yeah.
And his pride and his honor in himself.
Honor, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in his family. And so, but then on the island stuff, because that's in the flashback, on the island stuff, she's desperately trying to figure out if Jin has honor about being her baby's daddy. Because if it turns out that he's not the father, she has dishonored him. So I thought that was really cool character motivation, is like she's trying to figure out, while in the backstory, she's actively working to preserve his honor. And she's just a really good romantic partner. She's just a really good wife right now, and she's a good human being for wanting these things, for wanting her loved ones to feel pride.
Yeah, I just thought I thought the whole it was probably one of my favorite Sun and Jin backstories. I don't know why. I've just always liked it. Especially this late in the game too, is because usually the Kate backstories have kind of gotten stale. The Jack backstories, it's like, okay, we need to move on from these. But I like this one. I thought it was a nice one.
Yeah, Jin is still sweet to Sun, which is always delight. If this was going to be another Jin is an evil man episode, I'd be like, okay, this kind of sucks. But the on island stuff with Jin, you're really starting to like him. So it made sense that this was sort of a tender moment of the, and Jin is completely unawares of everything that Sun does in this episode.
Yeah. He calls her Mrs. Kwan. He because she's looking at pictures of her graduation. He goes, "Oh, you're the still sexy, all that different stuff." He's, and she goes, "Where are your pictures?" He goes, "Oh, my family's dead." Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
then he's changing the story he originally told her and stuff
Right.
like that. So I think she knows at that point, okay, I don't think he's telling me the truth.
Because he even got a little frustrated with her.
Yeah.
He's just like, just accept it, basically. And
right.
It's a tough choice. I remember watching the episode with Jin and his dad, where he goes and sort of has one last meeting with him before basically writing him completely off. And I loved that they brought him back for this, that they brought the actor back, and then for even Sun to go meet him and talk with him and to tell him to his face that his son said that he was dead and he doesn't miss a beat. And he's like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Just the emotional range depicted on the show of human emotion is absurd. It's just so great.
And to find out too, that he doesn't even know 100% sure if he's the father. He just raised it. He raised him as his own.
Yes.
But because he tells Jin, he tells Sun, she had many men. Doesn't call her a prostitute, but she said he was with many men. I don't even know if it was my child.
Yeah, which is kind of what Sun is also dealing with in this episode. She doesn't know who the father of her baby is.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah,
good point. Maybe Jin's dad is secretly like Christian Shepherd or something. Could be. It worked for what, Claire?
Claire, yes, that's true. That's true.
So you just never know. Like Jin could have been somebody important's son, not the son of a fisherman.
But all the show, the whole show is daddy issues, and here's one dad who was just by all accounts, a great guy.
An awesome person. Mm-hmm.
And Jin could not share his dad with everybody because him just being a lowly fisherman.
It's just Korean culture is just, I learned a whole lot about Korean culture from this episode and from Jin and Sun's story all around. And I'm like, it's interesting that it's all about honor and they can't,
Yeah, it's sad because you have the one good dad on the show, and we have to pretend he's dead.
Well, Desmond was a good father eventually.
Yeah,
yeah.
But you have Widmore was Sun's dad is a jerk. Widmore is a jerk. Sawyer's dad, obviously. Jack's dad was not the greatest dad. Hurley's dad left him. Charlie's dad, I think.
Kate's dad.
Yeah.
Oh man,
we could go on and on and on with these dads.
Well, all the best cowboys, as they say.
I forgot Locke's dad.
Yeah,
Locke's dad. Yeah,
you're not going to forget him. He's coming up soon.
That's true.
You should try and figure out who is the worst dad. I'm sure that has been discussed at some point. But
and Ben's a dad.
Oh, Ben's a dad. True. Yeah.
Yes.
You got to count Ben, I guess.
Well, off the top of your head, Janice, you brought it up. Who's the worst? Who would get your vote for worst dad?
Locke's dad. He attempted to kill him and stole his kidney and just conned him out of everything. I think it's Locke's dad for sure.
Yeah, I think that's right. And then probably Ben, and then probably Charles.
Now Sawyer's dad was pretty bad too, though.
Sawyer's
dad, it was more of a stressor, right? He was taken advantage of, or his wife was having an affair with Anthony Cooper.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. I was like, what did
he
Sawyer's
was a bad
dad
husband, but yes.
Yeah.
I'll go with Anthony Cooper too, but there's a lot of bad dads on this show.
Oh yeah.
Well, because I always think that Kate's dad, because I just we watched the one where Kate is talking to her mom, and Kate's mom, you can't help who you love, Kate. I'm
right.
Like, yeah, you can, but she, I still think that Kate's dad did something more to her than just her mom, because there's something there that we never saw.
You know who's a great dad besides Jin? I just thought of this. Shannon's dad.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
He was a good dad.
Boone's stepfather, Shannon's birth father.
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything but die. Gets into a car accident, not his fault.
Well,
But
write a will beforehand. Okay, I can
Did
do
we lose
that.
Eric?
No, I
Where'd
guess
he go?
so. Yeah, he
He'll be
dropped
back.
out.
Yeah, that's always an interesting
can you hear me?
subject. Yeah, I can hear you. We just can't see you.
Okay.
But it's always an interesting subject about who's the worst. Because like I said, one of the worst people on Lost is Michael's Walt's mom. Is it, what's her name? Not Sarah. What is her name? Anyway, she's one of the. To me, she's one of the worst people on the show.
Yes,
I think she's terrible because what she did to Michael and keeping Walt away from her and not Michael sent him cards all the time and we're talking about Walt's mom being terrible.
While she would do that, yeah.
Susan, is it Susan?
Susan, yes.
Susan, yeah, one of the worst people on Lost.
Susan?
Yeah.
Walt's mom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She, I think, has the benefit of the delusion that she's doing something good. She wants to provide for her kid, but she really screwed over her family a little bit there.
Right. And screwed over Walt.
I thought Brian did what he could, though, with Walt.
Right. Until he freaked out about the whole bird slamming into the sliding glass door.
Packed up his bags. I'm out of here.
I can't take the birds, man. I can't take the birds.
Yeah, the birds is there. So, but getting back to D.O.C. real quick, if I could, I wanted to talk about Juliet in this episode because I think it really works how they have Juliet. Nobody really trusts her. Kate definitely doesn't trust her. Sun doesn't trust her, but they need something from her in this episode. And it plays on Juliet's own emotion because she wants to help Sun. She says to her, I want to deliver good news. Because I've had so many of my patients die. And so Juliet,
9 of them, right? 9 or 8.
Yeah. 9 patients over 3 years,
patients.
I think she said. But like she's among them, but she's not one of them. And I think Elizabeth Mitchell plays that card really, 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 really well. And of course we know that it's, she's reporting to Ben still at the end of the episode, but it doesn't mean that she's not still telling the truth a little bit. I think that all those emotions that she really wins Sun over by being honest with her. Like, I believe Juliet really wants to deliver good news.
Well, it's like when she says she's going to the medical hatch and she says, Sun goes, oh, Claire and Kate told me about that. There's nothing there. She goes, well, they don't know where to look. And they get to the room. She goes, what is this room? This is where we brought the women to die. I'm like, oh my God.
All right. Well, you see the crib and all of the stuff that was set up in the room with Claire originally and all of that. So yes. And yeah, just knowing the whole talk about like Jin was infertile and stuff like that. And she thought she'd never be pregnant because of Jin. And then the sperm count being higher, as a woman.
5 times higher.
Yes, 5 times higher.
That was a very almost midichlorian type talk of like, here's how the force works on this island. Like, in case you were wondering.
You get super sperm.
Yeah. Well, it's mentioned a couple times on this because that's how special the island is. Because Mikhail says, no, parachute girl will, because they go a day. They go,
yes.
They go, oh, maybe a day and a half.
Yeah.
So
for a lung. He had to intubate her lung.
So twice on this episode, they talk about how special the island is. And it wasn't Locke talking about it. So it made it even more special.
When Locke talks about it, you kind of tune it out. It's like, all right. But it's also good for expedient plot for Naomi to be fully recovered in like a day and a half.
Right.
Because she's got such a role to play in the finale coming up. So that was just real clever writing all along. I mean, everything's tight, everything's beautiful, but you still get a lot of the time spent on character.
I thought great fight scene between Jin and Mikhail. I thought it was a good fight scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like these intermediate stages of Jin being able to communicate as well, because he's able to grab the phone and show them, this is what I was going after you. Like, you think
Right.
he's attacking him for one reason, but
Yeah.
it's another reason. He's like, no, listen, they took the phone.
Because
Like-
Desmond made a deal. If you save Naomi,
Yeah.
we'll let you go. And of course, Charlie, it's almost a good, because I thought it was a good point brought up by, I agreed with Charlie, then I agreed with Desmond, because Desmond says, well, by my count, you've killed more of them than they have of you. And I'm like going, but Charlie goes, well, they started it.
Yeah. What a knee-jerk reaction. But who at this time, do you remember, like, anything during this episode when this aired? Was anybody making that argument to justify the others, that the Losties killed more of them than they killed the Lost? Was anybody on the other side? I can't remember literally that being
I don't remember that at all. No.
a point of view at all. So for Desmond to say that, it blew my mind a little bit, but then I'm like, wait a minute, Desmond, whose side are you on here?
Right.
Like, he was off brooding and he decided to count who killed more people, like, and it wasn't the others.
They got 2, they got 1.
And that's technically not true if you count the tail section.
Yeah.
The other 48 days.
Yeah,
and
because most of them died.
A whole lot more.
Oh, that's
of the
right.
Survivors, exactly.
And if you count all the hopes and
technically,
dreams,
that's not even true.
all the hopes and dreams that were shattered.
And technically, Ana Lucia killed Shannon, but Shannon only killed him because she was afraid of the others.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So Desmond's math is way off.
Yeah.
Yes.
But what an interesting perspective, I guess. It's like, takes you for a beat.
It's like, yeah.
Well, he wasn't around for that part of the story. Yeah. He was,
I do agree with Charlie, though. It's like, we wouldn't have attacked them if they didn't attack us.
But do you think that it's Charlie's problem with Mikhail in this episode that marks him for death from Mikhail? Like, Mikhail chooses to spend his dying moment igniting a grenade or whatever that kills, or that is sure to kill Charlie.
Right.
Do you think it's because they had this little altercation here?
He does look at him. Mikhail does look at Charlie like, you know, like when Desmond lets him go, like, screw you. Ha! Yeah, I'm going. Screw you. Yeah, there was a look, you know, where Charlie's like, ah. Yeah. And there's no way Charlie was going to beat up Mikhail. There was something. It's like, stop me, please stop me.
He's got a splintered guitar. You rough him up a little bit. I mean, he's yeah.
But I do like the scene where they're like going, nobody knows we're here, you know, and then Hurley steps off.
Yes.
Oops.
Well, they do now.
Man.
It's so funny. I mean, it's just classic where they don't say anything, which makes it even better. They just look at him like, even Jen, like, what the hell, Hurley? Poor Hurley. He was a comic relief in this one. Well, no, we jumped around here, so let's see here. I do like, so we don't know, because you said that Patchy was lying, right, Janice? You said that he was, that when you watch the caption.
Who was lying?
When Patchy, not Patchy, Mikhail says, when Naomi was talking, you said it was something different. It wasn't.
I read it on Lostpedia.
Oh, it was you. I'm sorry.
She says in Portuguese, "I'm not alone," and Mikhail says, she says, "Thank you." It's right after he heals her, or stitches up her wound or whatever, and so he's absolutely like, that's probably why he grabs the phone. But you just can't trust Mikhail, and I hate that you can't trust Naomi. I hate that she's just, every word out of her lips the next 4 episodes is going to be some huge lie.
Yeah. Didn't he say she was speaking Italian? I thought it was Italian.
Yeah, she said.
But it's Italian, it's Portuguese, and Hurley says Spanish at one point too.
Right.
Spanish, exactly. Yeah. So
and she speaks, well, Spanish and Italian, I guess, are pretty close, but she also speaks English, so she's multilingual.
Well, the final scene we have where it was at season 2 where Penny gets that call. The 2 guys they speak Portuguese, right?
I think that's right.
If I remember correctly, they were speaking Portuguese, so that would make sense that she speaks Portuguese.
Okay. It was just I didn't know which one is it. Which language is it? I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another reason why you would believe it's Penny, because you're kind of waiting on her to act on like the info from that final scene.
Yes.
And if Penny is going to come to the island, you can bet it's going to be during a Desmond episode. So
definitely
that worked for until the reveal.
I do. I want to go back to Sun and Juliet. I like that Sun was also honest with Juliet.
Yeah.
Telling that I slept with another man before we got here. Jin we had issues, and because I bribed his mom, and she doesn't say that, but we.
She tells her whole life story, and Juliet's got this glassy look by the end of it, like, okay.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad you told me that. But that's when she tells him about the sperm count and all that different stuff. So.
All right.
Find out it is Jen's baby and not Mr. Lee's baby.
Right.
But that means she's going to die if she doesn't get off the island. So that's a tough one.
Yeah. And the actress plays relieved and condemned at the same time very well.
It was a great job.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, then we'll talk about if you have all that cash, would you just have it sticking out of your purse? Because
you mean it?
Jin found the
yeah.
He asked him for. I was writing notes at the time, so I know he asked her for something, and he checks the purse. He goes, "What's all this cash doing here?"
Yeah, I mean,
if you want to hide something from as a woman, you do not put it in your purse because you don't know who's going to go in there. You put it someplace under the bed or something.
My take on it was she had just gotten home.
Right.
Like she had to, because she couldn't account for her whereabouts. Then she kind of had to do some house stuff, like make the bed or whatever she was doing, because she's in the bedroom when he comes in, and I think she just didn't. I mean, she asked him to go into her purse, and then it's like, but wait.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
That's true. Yeah.
But
did he come home early or something? Maybe she wasn't expecting him.
Yeah, something like that.
It could have been. I don't know. But I did want to talk about the scene between Sun and her dad. I thought that was a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that Paik Automotive does? Is he a bookie? Is he's roughing people up?
Yeah.
But she claims to have a life's worth of history of looking the other way.
Right.
And it's enough for, I don't know, it's weird because it's presented as a bargain, but it's not really a bargain at all, because she says she'll look the other way and he gets her husband. He's like, this is his debt. I'll have him work for me.
Because he says there's nothing, I didn't write down the line, but he says something that there's nothing, she says something about, I wish I would have wrote it down. It's a great line. And
I might have written it down. He says, we do not live in a world where there are no questions asked.
I'm trying to think.
And I just thought, and he said he's going to have to work for me now, which sends them down the spiraling,
Yeah. This has to have been maybe his end game. It's a very Widmore-esque trade, because Sun is actually getting nothing out of it. Like the $100,000, it goes away. Sun now has to live with her husband doing what her dad, like working for her dad.
Do you think that his ultimate plan, the dad's ultimate plan, was for Jin that would break them up, or that Jin would eventually die, or just get tired of it and quit? And was he trying to break them up, the marriage? Because he never probably really.
I think he wanted to control. He still wanted to control his daughter, and if he had her husband, under his wing like that, he could control the relationship more. I don't know.
Yeah, because doesn't Mr. Pig basically put them on that plane? He puts them on 815.
Right. Yeah.
Like he makes sure that they.
Does he? Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it's like a business trip or something, and Sun's gonna.
He's taking a watch to someone in Los Angeles.
Yeah, the watch.
Yeah, the one Michael was wearing that they.
Yep.
That Jin ended up having a handcuff for his whole season.
Oh, the watch, yeah.
Poor Jin. Poor Jin. Poor Jin.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else that happened in this episode? Naomi speaks. She's going to live. Oh, that's. I know what the twist was. They found. She goes because I think said Hurley tells them they're on flight 815.
Yeah.
Yes. I was about to say that.
I remember when this happened. It was like, what? Because they said they found the plane. There were no survivors.
So that's the first time we hear about the fake plane that they planted.
I remember this at the time being, oh my God, this is just crazy. This is crazy because it's like, what? Fake plane? What? Wait, what? They found the wreckage. What is going on? Are they dead? Were they dead the whole time? It was just all these different theories came out that, old theories, new theories. It was a great ending to the episode. Such
a great ending to the episode. And like you said, it pays off all those were they dead the whole time theorists. Right. And
yes. Who some still believe that.
Right. Yeah.
oh yeah. I would say a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why, but that's just. I don't try to convince them.
Well, the show just toys with that so often. It's like people are going to eventually believe that they keep saying they are dead or these contradictions. So. Yeah.
But overall, what do we think of this? What do we think of this episode?
Real solid.
Yeah.
For sure. Had a lot of information, a lot of things that made you go, what, between, the cord going to the, underwater station or the fake plane or just a lot of different things to think about.
Juliet's end game because she goes back in Sun and she does tell Ben, but then she goes, I hate you, Ben. So, okay, we know Juliet's giving information mainly because the episode before is she's with her sister Rachel and nephew that Ben has access to him, and the reason that she's been working with Ben all this time is because I think she's worried that Ben will harm because she knows who Ben is.
Exactly. Yeah, she's afraid she'll kill her sister for sure. Right. So I think that's what why she's doing it for Ben.
What she says about I'll have Kate's samples soon.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
How is she gonna stick a needle in Kate? And Kate doesn't know.
I was gonna say it sounds invasive. It sounds really sounds like something I would have remembered happening. So hopefully it gets derailed. Somebody finds the tape and plays it back, and then that exposes Juliet. I think I forget exactly when.
I think so, yeah. And then she had to explain herself.
Right.
It all worked out. Well, it didn't. I guess it didn't work out for her. She dies, but spoiler alert.
Crushed by the hatch, man.
Yeah.
The others are awesome liars. Just the stories they can wheel out and make you believe them is just amazing.
That's what I would have liked to have seen too out of the whole series of Lost. Because when you get Mr. Friendly and you really believe that he's this caveman-esque kind of regressed native person on the island, from that day, I always wanted to see if you're going to demystify the others, at least show them in liar training, right? Like at least show them, learn how to spin this web because they're all so good at it. They are all of them are so good at it.
Well, they also know the history of the Losties. So when you know someone's history and they don't know you, that's a huge advantage. I mean,
that's a good point.
It's easy to spin a web, spin a web of lies when you're like going, no, you know what the answer is going to be, and you like you said, Locke is a pushover. Locke is going to is gullible because it is. So you have that advantage. Jack has got to fix things. Jack is this. Kate's got to run. Kate's got to do this. Sawyer is angry. So
it's a good thing all these people had Facebook before they got on the plane.
Yeah, it was probably MySpace, right?
Oh yeah,
yes, MySpace.
This is the MySpace of Dr. Jack Shepard. Here's Megadeth.
Yeah. I loved both episodes. I thought they were great, and it made me want to watch the next one. We got back into that where I go, okay, can't wait for the next one. Can't wait for the next one because
me too.
How it is. They found the plane. There were no survivors. Like. Because even Hurley's look like, no, I'm here. We're survivors.
Yeah, this might be. I wonder if anywhere on the World Wide Web that somebody really ranked all the top cliffhangers of Lost, because this ending line, this is probably it strikes me as being one of the best ones.
Right. Of course, we have the best one probably at the end of this season. We got to go back, Kate.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how you top that one.
And if you ever did that list, I know the Polar Bear Guys, Where Are We would still be very high up from the pilot.
Right. But yeah, I just thought they were great episodes and fun to watch. And I think they, again, I keep saying this, they hold up.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else you guys got? Did you want to ask? Or
I have an interesting story, actually, when it comes to Lost. I was watching Lost, and this is back when viral emails used to go around the offices and stuff like that. And there would have been a plane crash, and there was a photographer on the plane crash. And there was an email going around talking about a picture was taken on the plane before it crashed. This photographer took this picture, and someone was like, Janice, come over here. Look at this picture of this email, this picture on this email. And I looked at it, and it was literally where the plane broke off, and it was Kate and the Marshall. And they actually thought that that was a picture from that plane crash. And I had to look at them, and I was like, I live in Alabama, and trust me, things like that don't surprise me. And I had to look at them, and I literally had to convince them, no, this is fake. This is not from that plane crash. That's just an interesting, funny story.
That is too funny. I wonder how many people worldwide believe that. It's like the Nigerian prince.
Exactly. Because it was one of those viral emails. Yes. Yeah.
That is too funny. Did you find the show?
I finally convinced them somehow. I think I probably pulled up Lost on like some Lost website and showed them, no, see, this is the same girl. So.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, that is too funny. Oh man. All right. I think that's all we got. Again, it was great talking with both of you.
Yes, for sure. It was a joy. Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun. I appreciate you asking me, and that be on with Eric too was awesome.
Yeah, it's really nice to meet you.
Maybe next time we can have you on with.
Nice to meet you. I'm a big with Caleb or
Caleb, Stephanie, and we'd have a whole Alabama connection.
Oh, very nice.
Yes, that would be cool. That would be cool. But no, I've listened to Mugglecast for years, Eric, and I used to listen to you on Game of Owns way back when Game of Thrones was still on.
I appreciate it.
I'm a big, love it.
No, thank you very much. Yeah, and Jack, thank you so much for having me back on. This is just
no
always
problem.
such a pleasure. And you even picked a Desmond episode. Thank you so much.
I try.
I'll come back anytime. It's just always such a blast.
All right, guys. I really enjoyed this. Talk to you guys again.
Sounds good.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Bye.